DMs. What was your favorite way to start a campaign? Let us know in the comments below. I'm creating a sandbox campaign and I'm having trouble deciding how to start things off. I'd like to avoid the overused, you meet in a tavern inn, and have something more interesting and engaging for the party. I was thinking of them starting off as prisoners, but I would love to get inspiration from all of you as well. I actually enjoyed the classic meet in a tavern start. I began a campaign where the party met in a tavern, chatted for about 5 minutes, then a cannonball shot through the wall. Suddenly, the city was under attack and the party had to escape. It was pretty intense. Oh, there's a lot you can do with characters starting as prisoners, depending on who holds them. The characters are the most recent slaves to the drow, captured and put together to save on using resources making cages. Now they have to either make a great escape themselves, create a slave revolution, or perhaps attempt to work to get higher up on the ladder. Whatever they do, spies can be found everywhere, including the prisoners' population. After attempting something in a corrupt city with the rest of the group, the party is arrested and are now expected to work with the corrupt city in different ways or face punishment. A djinn has taken several people as servants, which may include some party members, or they may have been servants for a while. In contrast to expectations, a prisoner to a genie, specifically a djinn, is a comfortable and useful experience. However, his rivals are stirring, planning something. The second one is exactly how one of my groups opened Descent into Avernus. We were all part of a failed heist, doing community service together, bickering about what went wrong and making up what went wrong. Terrific opener. I ignore starts altogether. They're so contrived and boring. I always start on the way to the mission after everyone's already introduced themselves. We can always flash back to first impressions, tavern, or answering the same post, etc. later. I heard somewhere, the adventure begins at the doors of the dungeon. To me, that means to cut to the first action you want. The tavern and meeting each other, not part of the dungeon. The travel to the dungeon, possibly. I might even start at the first room of the dungeon if I want. When we started my campaign, all the characters were in a town hall of sorts, among a crowd listening to a noble speak. They were offered gold to form a coalition to patrol and defend the city from undead attacks. I described the Lord speaking and occasionally cut to a vague description of one character, like a young man in chainmail listening intently, or a figure in dark leathers leaning lazily against a wall. Then, I'd ask the players to describe their character's physical appearance. Switching between the Lord and characters gave a nice layout of the room. This helped players introduce themselves in character while forming a clear mental image of each other. Came up with this one the other day to bring everyone together from different walks of life. It opens on Market Day. Everyone's there for various reasons. A young nobleman's daughter and her guard buy goods or just enjoy escaping the stuffy mansion. A woodsman is in town to sell furs with others from his village. A homeless pickpocket is trying to find just enough coin for his next meal. Even a young sorcerer, whose powers have recently awakened, is looking for guidance. At the peak of the day, they all gather around the town fountain when a violent earthquake strikes, and they all fall into the ground below. Now, trapped in forgotten waterways, they must work together to escape, facing monsters that roam the tunnels and possibly uncovering the cause of the earth shaking. I'm a huge fan of starting in mid-res, with everyone already knowing each other. It really helps tie people's backstories together. Maybe the fighter and wizard are siblings and get along well, but the fighter doesn't trust the cleric, who is very close to the wizard. And if you don't know what in med res actually is, it's Latin for a literary technique where a story actually begins in the middle of an action rather than at the beginning. The more you know. In my experience, role-playing how the party meets is basically dead air when you could jump straight into the storyline. I find it better to establish how the party meets during character creation at session 0. it lets you do it narratively instead of immersively. You can multitask by discussing ties between characters while making them. It's also a chance to tie backgrounds together too, in the DM's mind, not out loud. The DM can provide any setting lore the characters should know from the start. That way, by session 1, you can jump right into the action. As for plot hooks, I always start sandboxes the same way. The party is looking for work. Tier 1 characters are grunts trying to make their way using their abilities, not menial labor. Don't make the characters special right out of the gate. They're just regular Joes, or at least they think they are until the plot twists come. Have a handful of plot hooks for the party to choose from. Design these hooks to lead to reveals that move the larger story along. What I do is make a flowchart showing paths the party can take based on the plot hooks they pick. This leads to locations in town, out of town, NPCs, and important reveals they can discover. As the party moves along their decision tree, I highlight paths taken on the chart to track what info they have uncovered. I also use the flowchart to track important NPCs they might encounter outside of the plot hooks, and reveals they can discover that way too. After a few sessions, the party usually settles into a main plotline through their choices, and the flowcharts become unnecessary. But having flowcharts when opening a sandbox makes the world feel open and organic while helping the DM provide information to move the story along in many ways. I recommend making a chart for your starting location, and one for any locations the plot hooks might lead to next. After that, create new charts for locations as needed, or abandon them once the party settles into a linear story you can reasonably predict. You could have them escape together when their transport gets attacked. It could be bandits causing trouble or goons hunting for their recently captured boss. My favorite tavern cliché. You went to the tavern after a hard day. After a few brews, something says the wrong thing, and you witness an argument. Things blow out of proportion, the whole bar erupts into a brawl. You find your characters on the same side of the near riot. Roll initiative. At session 0, I gave my players pre-made characters and dropped them into a dungeon. After they suffered a total party kill, TPK, they switched to their new characters. Now their new characters had something to investigate, giving them immediate purpose and a fresh start. Hey you are finally awake. Oh god, please, oh my god, I love it. You awaken in your tube. Faceless bodies in tubes surround you. You're in some kind of lab, somewhere, sometime. How long? What? A noise, a ding! Whoosh! You awaken again, naked and without memories except a single flashback. Sitting up, you see stone walls, floor, and a dungeon ceiling. Your friends are near you. Wait, friends? Who are these naked people? A rickety door leading into inky blackness is the room's only feature. The room is lit and warm. Walking into the darkness gives a sensation of falling before you comically appear, needing an acrobatics check to avoid falling in mud. A pair of guards hold up a gauntleted hand. Hail and welcome to insert campaign name. I once had a murder hobo try to kill those guards. Ugh. Another player who wanted to play an angel knocked them out with anime-style nosebleeds. Anyway, memories either return slowly or they return instantly upon hitting the mud. This lets players introduce themselves before learning who and what they are, and the campaign continues from there. It makes them wonder, what the fuck were those tubes and faceless bodies? And you say, what tubes? Maybe all of them already know each other, old friends starting an exploring guild for profit and fame. Although simple, I don't see this straightforward start often. You could even give them a small base of operations, perhaps a rented room in the tavern basement, humid and smelly. Maybe they can even acquire things. Wink wink. Ship pirates survive a shipwreck, only to find themselves stranded in another dimension. I used to love the classic, you all wake up in an abandoned inn with no living soul trope. That said, I have an awesome adventure where the party is trapped in a frontier fort turned inn. They're all being processed to enter a prison from a corrupt empire as Session 0. Prison Escape Session 1. Mine so far is the classic, you meet in a tavern inn, but with a small twist. Each character must have at least one bond with another party member. This has worked well in my sandbox game, letting players create realistic backstories that connect to others. It gives the world a lived-in feel since there's already some shared history. Prisoners are an excellent starting point. My favorite campaign opening was Out of the Abyss, where everyone started in a drow prison. You meet in an inn, and then kobold Vikings attack it and set it on fire. I've started a couple of groups with the players meeting in a jail. As part of describing their characters, the players have to explain why their characters are in jail. From there, I can do all sorts of things. They can try and escape, I can have them be rescued by some unknown faction, they can be freed by the town ruler or be sent on a dangerous mission in return for freedom. All sorts of things. Do something that really drives them into adventure. I think for taverns where they pick up quests are only good if the players are actually into it. For everything else, better an imminent or looming concise threat to deal with. The army of orcs has been sent back. They left loads of treasure around. Let's ask the locals or give them a reason to hunt for a specific warband. I once had mine start on a caravan ride to their mutual goal. They had several days of travel with minor encounters that endangered their driver. So they had lots of opportunities to get to know each other and roleplay before uniting for the job they were hired to do. Although they began their time together meeting in a tavern, I did a quick pre-session with each player to set up how they ended up there. The rogue arrived by ship, disembarking at the docks and making his way into the city. He picked up story hooks promising more details at the inn. The bard came with a merchant caravan and found work for the evening at the same tavern. The other two, brothers, were already city laborers, and the tavern was their usual haunt. We role-played the early part of the day, so all four were at the tavern with the story hooks to discuss and build on. I've used two ones that worked pretty well. One was that they were on a royal hunting trip with a bunch of awesome NPCs and were barely aware of each other. Then the trip was attacked, and they were the only ones to escape alive, forcing the group to work together to escape and making them feel awesome as a result. I also had them all be random people living on the frontier who were hired to explore farther than anyone had ever explored before. This too forces the party to bond and work together. I always do the first session at a party of some holiday. It establishes a little bit of lore about the universe and gives a great reason for the characters to just mingle. After a little bit of mingling, I introduce something that disrupts the party that draws the players in. Never failed. It's a running joke in one of my one-shots that the party are always on the road to the Black Ridge Ale Festival looking to drink some beer and chillax for a while. They invariably stumble into adventure and have never once made it to Black Ridge. It works out nicely because it gives them a reason to be traveling together, and it also lets them determine how they get along with each other. Plus, you know, who doesn't like beer? I've always liked the good old, your characters have been hired to escort a caravan starter. From there, some enemies can take an NPC or some important item hostage, and the group has to go retrieve it. This is the starter in the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which, if you don't know, is the campaign that comes with the D&D starter set. My other favorite is just plunging them straight into the storyline by having them immediately fight an easy enemy, like a goblin. From there, they are rewarded and given another mission, which takes you to the actual story. They all wake up in a bar in the morning and don't know what happened last night. However, they are the only people alive in the bar. It works depending on the story. Maybe they killed everyone, or maybe they were defending them from someone who got away. My current campaign started off during a winter festival. In my setting, everyone travels to the nearest large town or city for the winter solstice, known as Winter's Tide, and every city commemorates the event differently. The town they were in had a Festival of Lights sort of event, involving enchanted glass spheres that were handed out to the entire populace. The spheres given to my players all reacted differently, conjuring actual magical effects and bursts of colored flame instead of just a light cantrip. The city guards rounded them all up and brought them before the mayor. That set them off on a trip to a nearby mountain where the glass had originally been enchanted, just to figure out what was going on. I really like this start because it lets my players be in the area for any reason they wanted and let them observe a very important in-game holiday, and it gave them a reason to stick together that wouldn't conflict with any of their backstories or personal beliefs. They all really enjoyed it, and we have been playing for over a year in this setting now. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below, DMs, what was your favorite way to start a campaign? And also, if you want to support the channel, join our membership program. You keep the AC on during the summer, the heat on in the winter, and you get early access to videos. We love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy. Toodaloo.